Hello everyone, hope you're having an excellent day today. I'm doing pretty good. Welcome to another episode of Mark's Mock Review. We've got a bunch of amazing creations to check out as always, but before we do that, an important message. If you have a cool mock of your own that you'd like featured on a video like this, feel free to shoot me an email at markoffalworth@gmail.com. I'd love to feature your cool build. Let's dive into the first creation. It's actually a follow-up to last episode when we featured a build from William Key, aka Lego Key on Instagram. Last time we featured an amazing pagoda from William. This time we're talking about Wilston Village. There are a lot of pictures to find on Instagram. William has sent us a nice collage here with lots of different angles. And this will also be setting a bit of a theme for the rest of the video. There were a ton of castle creations to talk about this week. I'm not complaining, I'm overjoyed. Some of the first things that are really catching my eye in this awesome medieval village mock are the sand blue roofs. Also got some fantastic texture happening there too. You've got a number of buildings at right angles throughout the village, but at the tallest building you have a really nice angled top section, which looks really cool. William has not gone light on any of the landscaping outside of the village too. You got tons of plants, a little patch of grain, lots of paths, and minifigures walking around. I also really like that little dragon flying above the whole scene. An amazing medieval castle village, William. Thank you so much for sending it in. We've got another castle-themed build to look at here. Let's go ahead and read the email. Hi, I recently got into Lego Castle, and I really enjoy your videos. About a month ago, I finally decided to build my own mock, which I decided to show you, and hopefully it will appear on a video. It's a tower. In the future, I plan to build a whole castle. Keep up the great work. P.S. I used a translator, so it might sound a bit weird. Well, no worries, Daniel. I understood your message, no problem. And I really like your first castle mock here. You've got a nice simple terrain loaded with plants, just how I like it. And you've got a tower in the center. It's not gigantic, but I really like some of the architectural features you've included here. You've got normal slopes on the bottom, adding a nice secure foundation, but you've got inverted slopes at the top, making a nice place for all that battlement and crenellation work up there. A very nice texture throughout, and some nice olive green vines on there to really add some more detail. You've also included a couple pictures in battle mode, which is, I mean, if you're making a Lego castle, you really gotta have some action going on too. And there are multiple pictures showing multiple characters falling off this tower. Might be because it's a little on the small side and there's tons of guys trying to fight over it. Yeah, a very action-packed scene featuring two of my favorite castle factions. You've got the Lion Crusader Knights and the Black Falcons going to battle here. Great stuff, Daniel. So glad you're getting into Lego Castle mocks. Looking forward to the next one. We've got a bunch more creations to cover, and the next one is, of course, more Lego Castle. Let's read the email here. Hello, I'm sending you some pictures of my current project with this email. If you have the opportunity, you can take a look at my Instagram page. There are more photos. There's a link to the Instagram there. Best wishes from Germany. The email was sent by, I believe it's pronounced Ohampe, but feel free to correct me if I'm not saying it exactly right in the comments. The first image we have to look at has a lot of different textures going on. We've got a bunch of plants. This looks like the foundations of a castle with a ramp going up to the door. But what's really standing out is in the center, you've got a glowing beholder hidden in the cave underneath the castle. I wonder if they know there's such a dangerous, powerful, magical entity right beneath their feet. And there's a shot of the entire build. You've got so much going on. Let's try and break it down a little bit here. We've got, it looks like an entire village outside. Also quite a bit of trees and forest around this castle scene. There's a big castle in the background, lots of texture. Got those orange roofs working for the buildings up there. Over in the back right corner, you can see this is a work in progress. There's some unfinished areas and some pick-a-brick cups and it looks like bricklink order bags where more pieces are being deployed. So this is a work in progress. But already a ton has been accomplished. I love the landscaping. You've got a bunch of wedge plates and slopes being used to make it as textural as possible. Lots of great trees, like I said before. A nice river going down the center there in this picture. You've got a couple dragons ready to wreak havoc on this scene. Yes, great stuff, Ohampe. Thank you so much for sending it in, and do check out that Instagram. There are a lot more pictures to see there. The next creation we have to talk about is not castle themed, but I think it'll still be fun. Let's read the email. Hi, my name is Owen. I'm a big fan of your work. I've been working on this mock for quite some time now. I didn't have a lot of pieces to work with, but I did my best. I hope you like it. Also, would you ever consider doing an Invincible themed 12-hour mock challenge? Well, thank you for sending this along, Owen. Before we get to the build, to answer your question, I'm a huge fan of the Invincible TV show. It would be a lot of fun to do a 12-hour build challenge for that TV show theme. Lego has not done any official minifigures for that yet, so I'd have to get custom ones. which is just an extra step in the process. It's also really not a family-friendly show, so you kind of have to figure out a scene that isn't so intensely violent so that everyone can watch my videos. But at some point, I would love to make that work and figure that out at some point. I've seen some people do some great Invincible-themed LEGO creations before. I'd love to join that party. But to talk about your MOC here, Owen, we've got a battle scene. We've got a group of armed soldiers, fighters here in the center being surrounded by what looks like zombies. I think these are supposed to be Lego zombies. I think Owen has very cleverly got around the issue that Lego as a company does not produce enough Lego zombies for people to use. And in order to improvise, they've used some 1x1 round bricks for the heads of all the figures that are running towards the protagonists in the center. I think it's actually pretty convincing, especially if you have a pretty small parts budget. You've got some like fences, some gates, some kind of ruined outpost vibes here with some buildings. A very apocalyptic scene. You got a tank here in the front. You see a couple of hero minifigures up at the top kind of watching this whole scene unfold. But yeah, it's really, a lot of attention is in that battle in the center. This reminds me a lot of scenes that I used to make when I was a little bit younger, Owen. I would just have to cover it with minifigures battling for their lives, whether it was a landscape, a castle, whatever. And I really like your scene, Owen. Thank you for sending it in. Moving right along, we've got more Lego Castle to talk about. Let's go ahead and read that email. Hey Mark, my name is Alex. This is my Aquari Castle MOC, which I've started, but is not completely done. I was wondering if you could give me some critiques on what to do better or even what I could add to it. My Instagram is Cityscape Bricks, where I post updates on my builds. I've been watching your videos for 3 years and enjoy your medieval builds. It'd be super cool if you could review my build. Kind regards, Alex. Well, great to hear from you, Alex, and I keep bumping that. There you go. Well, great to hear from you, Alex. I'm so glad you've enjoyed watching my videos. I'm gonna have to get back to some medieval themed stuff for everyone. That seems to be a common appreciation and request almost, so I'll get back to that at some point. Let's talk about your creation though, Alex. We've got an expansive castle MOC with multiple buildings being shown in different pictures here. There's a lot going on, so I'll try and piece together what I can, give you some advice. I love the church building at the beginning. You've got some great tan, nougat colors mixed in. I like the concave shape over the door. Seems very accurate to a lot of medieval churches and cathedrals. This scene is definitely a work in progress, so I'm gonna try to give advice and critique where I can. Don't want to be too picky since it's clearly not finished yet. You've got a larger brown medieval building here. I like what's going on there. I like that you've got sort of a porch underneath. You've got a big statue. It looks almost like a rebuild of the Statue of Liberty set because I'm noticing a lot of sand green there. I think it looks really good. There's only one aspect of this statue sculpture I would change just a little bit, and it might be the head. I would possibly try to use some other pieces to kind of flesh it out, give it some more definition. Maybe try a piece of headgear, like a hat or a helmet, to help make it a little bit easier to sculpt. A human head at that scale would be very difficult. So maybe just a little bit of a tweak right there. But otherwise, I love the shape of it. It looks really cool and dynamic. We've got another picture of what looks like either the side or the back of the creation featuring some medieval buildings that Alex is working on. There's a couple things that stand out to me and some things I like and some things I would maybe change up a little bit if it were my own creation. I love the colors that are being used throughout the build. Tan is great, reddish brown's great, dark red roofs sounds great to me. You've got tiles being used for the paths, which I think is a really good idea. Adds a nice smooth, sleek texture. You've got two patches for tiles though. You've got dark tan in the center and kind of a dark gray and a little bit of light gray mixed in on the lower left. I would not have such big kind of uniform patches. Instead, I would kind of mix those two together, very randomized, almost like sprinkled together. That way it would seem a little more organic and a little bit more like an actual gravel or stone street. As it is now, it feels like they're a little bit too grouped together. Another few small things I would change is there's a tree right by the building there. Sometimes I think there could be trees or foliage next to a building, but in this case, I feel like that tree would actually look better on the other side of the path, on that little patch of greenery that you've got there, maybe not right in front of that building there. That's just a personal preference though. One final piece of advice I have for you is the dark red roof on that building there. I think the dark red color is a fantastic choice. I don't know if I would achieve it exactly that way though. You've got a flat area on the top of the building, and normally medieval roofs were rather steep to try and keep as much water, rain, snow, be able to fall off the roof easily. You wouldn't see a lot of flat roofing. An easy way to get around this would be to simply have your roof be, instead of having slopes, then a smooth plate area on top, have it just be all plates on an angle, perhaps using some hinge bricks or some clips or some hinge plates in order to get those plates on their side. I think would look a little bit more simple, a little bit more straightforward, a single angle versus having multiple angles and a flat surface on the top. A lot of classic castle sets will feature just a simple sloped plate roof. And I remember using that not too long ago for one of my own castles and just adding a few tiles on top to add some texture. It's a pretty simple technique to execute. I think it would look really good in this situation. Worth trying out if you're having trouble with the roofs. But it's whatever you decide to do. But thank you so much for sending this mock in, Alex. I hope I was able to give you some ideas and some things to work on, but I'm looking forward to more progress on your big medieval castle build. Moving right along, this mock is not castle themed. We've got another theme to talk about here. Let's read the email. Greetings, Mark. I just finished my Battle of Mon Cala mock and wanted your review. I think this battle is underrepresented in the LEGO community. I had a lot of fun detailing the seafloor, but I'm not so happy with my tunnel design. I didn't want to use the normal curved, round, transparent panels for the tunnel. How would you have done it? My name, Marvin, or Brick Tampel. My LEGO focused Instagram, @BrickTampel. Only 2 pictures fit in this email, more on my Instagram. Note, some bricks do not come from LEGO itself. The transparent bananas, for example, come from Fantasy. Hope that doesn't bother you. Best regards, Marvin. Well, Marvin, great to see a Star Wars mock from like you said, a very underrepresented era and location in Star Wars. This was featured in a couple episodes during the Clone Wars, and it's one of my favorite arcs, honestly. There's some great characters, and it's a very unique environment, and you've had a lot of fun using all these crazy pieces in your build. It looks really colorful, really vibrant. The textures are phenomenal. In order to make this scene really happen the way you need it to, though, Marvin has used some great custom scuba clones, which were featured extensively in those episodes in this storyline on this water planet. And yeah, all that coral reef texture is just really catching my eye. Great stuff. You said you had concerns with the tunnel though, Marvin. I can understand that's kind of a difficult thing to build. There were a lot of tunnels and underwater aquatic architecture happening in this episode. It's a little tricky to see from this angle, but yeah, it's challenging to get the right combination of slopes and inverted slopes in order to make this work. I haven't built a lot of sci-fi tunnels myself. One thing I would suggest though is try to experiment with some studs not on top stuff, especially when it comes to that entry point. I feel like getting some bricks with studs on the sides and then having slopes applied to that would make it slightly easier and more compact for you. But yeah, keep experimenting is my advice. On the topic of using non-LEGO pieces in your mocks, it does not bother me when I see other people using those pieces to build cool creations like this. While personally, I really try to stick to LEGO whenever I can, there are some exceptions, like especially when it comes to custom minifigures and custom accessories. I tend to enjoy those quite a bit. Well, thank you for sending this in, Marvin. Great to see an underrepresented era of Star Wars in LEGO. And Marvin has some pictures of his clone armies on his Instagram that are worth checking out, so feel free to look there too. Well, we can't stick to non-castle mocks for that long, so we're gonna go right back to my favorite theme and look at a mock we've got from Carson. The email is really brief. It says, name Carson, Flickr, Carson Lacey. We've got a link there that we can follow, so that will be in the description for you as always. And Carson, we have a really clean, professional looking mock here. We've got a pretty complex round roof happening in the center of this photo. A lot of dark blue slopes being used very effectively to create that unique texture and shape. Some really nice trees kind of flank each side of the building. You've got some nice smoke billowing out of the chimney. You've got a couple goats, a couple minifigures, and some corn. I always like to see some good corn or agriculture in LEGO. I'm also really impressed with Carson's presentation on this mock. You got the nice green background, good photography. You can see everything from a single photo. It's always good when that's a possibility. There are more of Carson's mocks on his Flickr account, so feel free to check those out. And thank you, Carson, for sending even more castle mocks into my inbox. Honestly, that's kind of the main reason that I'm doing this series is I love to share other people's creations, But more importantly, I just want to have cool MOCs delivered to my inbox all the time, and the plan is working. We've got another creation to look at here. Let's read the email. Hey Mark, my name is Timo. I love your content and all your crazy cool MOCs you build. Here is my MOC. I participated in a competition for creating a MOC inspired by the local authority of Zandam. Also, I had to include the rainbow flag. I'd love to hear your feedback about my project. Keep building so that I can keep watching your content. Just love it. Greetings from the Netherlands, Timo. Well, thank you for sending this build in, Timo. I really appreciate it. And yeah, with a name like Zandam, this has to be from the Netherlands, of course. I also want to briefly mention that if this was a contest hosted by your local government, that's super fun and super cool. I wish we saw more of that in the United States. And yeah, we have quite a build in front of us. It's not medieval, but it is European architecture, so it has some similarities. First of all, the thing that's really standing out about this build is it's green. You've got this bright green color scheme for this very nicely achieved house. I think it looks really crisp and good with that white frame and detail. I'm guessing that Timo is basing this off of a real building. You get some fun details on the outside of the build we can look at here. You've got some construction workers, some hijinks over in the left corner there. You've got what looks like the mayor coming past a little gate, and you've got the news covering this. That's probably tying into the like local authority competition that Timo was talking about. You've also got the pride flag on the sidewalk over there. One of the construction workers is applying the paint there. On the inside of the build, we've got even more going on, honestly. There's a giant number 50 in the center being painted by dozens of construction workers. I'm not sure what the 50 necessarily means. It's probably some anniversary or something to do with the contest, perhaps. I love all the construction workers doing all sorts of crazy stuff around the build. There's paint everywhere. It looks like pandemonium. And I'm pretty sure I see Emmett in the top right corner there. I think he is just eating some hot dogs, taking a little break. But yeah, it really reminds me of that scene from the Lego movie when they're all in that construction happy vibe. I also wouldn't have guessed from just looking at the outside of this build that it all opens up. You've got the front wall just swinging open like doors, and the roof lifts up as well. A crazy fun build, Timo. Thank you for sending in. Appreciate you watching the content as well. This next email has quite a bit to talk about. Let's go ahead and read it. Hello, Mark. Really like your builds, especially a recent Dwarven Forge. Attached are some of my MOCs. Maybe you would like to review some of them. Here's my Flickr gallery with better version pics. Link to the Flickr right there. My favorite themes are sci-fi, mechs, and fantasy creatures. Also older 80s and 90s anime. The email is from VLC, and that's also the name associated with the Flickr account, so we'll call them VLC from here on out. And they've included like 12 different MOCs here to look at. So we're not gonna cover all of them today. I think I'm actually gonna focus on the classic space one that they've sent, an M-Tron spaceship. But there are so many great creations here that we'll be coming back to VLC for a little while just to cover a number of the ones sent in this email. But this M-Tron spaceship really caught my eye just because I'm a big fan of M-Tron in general, but also a lot of the building techniques are very fun too. VLC is using a lot of classic pieces like that windscreen, the original figures. There's tons of M-Tron logos and M-Tron printed pieces throughout the build, but it's the unique angles that this spaceship is constructed that is really catching my attention. There's a lot of bricks with studs on the side. There's a lot of different clips and connections. I'm not even sure if all of them are legal connections or if there's some illegal connections happening there. Either way, it looks awesome, and it even has some cool play features with how the wings kind of open up on the front, kind of like an air brake system if we're coming into low altitudes. This makes me want to make some more classic spaceships, particularly of the M-Tron theme, but great job, VLC. Thank you so much for sending this in. We'll be covering more of their builds in the future, I'm sure. What do we have next? You guessed it, more Lego Castle. Let's take a look here. We've got an email from Black Falcon Brick Studio, and it says, the Crown Knights defend the walls of their fortress from an army of Bull Knight invaders. My YouTube is Black Falcon Brick Studio. Critique is appreciated. Well, Black Falcon Brick Studio, I appreciate you sending in yet another castle MOC. This has been a very enjoyable video for me. I hope you guys are liking it too. There are some great textures and colors going on in that wall and in the landscape. You've got tan, nougat, a little bit of dark orange sprinkled in there too. That olive green and sand green on the ground is actually working really well. Normally, I don't mix warm and cool tones like that in the terrain, but I think it's working pretty well here. The next thing that's catching my eye is all the castle minifigures that Black Falcon Brick Studios has used in this scene. You've got a bunch of minifigures on the walls ready to shoot down arrows or defend them against attacks, but you've also got minifigures pouring through the gate. I'm curious why these knights are leaving their heavily fortified position to charge right into a very well-prepared spear wall. Perhaps they've been starved out for months and this is the last-ditch effort to break the siege? I don't know, we don't have the full context. But really cool to see all those bull shields being used in this army here. It looks very cohesive. I kind of like the olive green and reddish brown mixed with the bull shields. I think it looks good. Yeah, this is a really fun, moderately sized castle scene. I like what's going on here. And Black Falcon Brick Studio has a YouTube channel it's worth checking out too. I didn't see a video on this castle build, but there was some other Star Wars content that's worth checking out there. The next build we have to feature is even more castle stuff. Let's go ahead and read the email really quick. Hey Mark, glad to see you're getting into more content creation. Here is a mock I did for Brickworld Chicago 2025. I titled it Dragon? Mostly because I wasn't sure I would get it done in time, but it turned out pretty well. I am not much of a creature builder, so how do you switch your mindset from architecture to organic builds? It'd be cool to have you on Think Outside the Blocks again sometime, maybe around the time the new 3-in-1 castle comes out. Thanks, Ben, Z Cerberus. Well, Ben, I'm so excited that you sent in one of your many creations that you brought to Brickworld this summer. Before we get into the build itself though, let's answer your question. How do you switch your mindset from architecture to organic builds? Ben, you're not asking that because you had trouble with this dragon. This dragon looks amazing. I appreciate that you want to get my mindset when switching from two different things. It's really boils down to using a totally different logic when building. Landscapes, you want to be as organic as possible. You want to avoid symmetry or patterns. With architecture, it's all about composition and color, and also making sure the build looks balanced or logical. With a creature, you actually have to really worry about symmetry. You have to have 2 eyes, 2 arms, 2 nostrils, a balanced shape to the build. I think in a way, mechs and creatures can be even more difficult for me because of that precise symmetry and kind of known proportions. If your creature looks really off, it's not something you can easily explain away. If your landscape has more rocks, less rocks, more plants, a bigger or wider stream, it doesn't matter because there's a huge variety there, but creatures kind of have to be specific. Ben clearly had no problem switching gears out of his usual castles and spaceships to a organic creature like this dragon. One of the things that really stands out to me about this dragon build is the fire spewing from the mouth. It almost looks like lava. I also really like the color scheme. You've got kind of predominantly dark red, but some dark brown and black highlights here and there. Some big and probably flexible wings with dark tan fabric applied to the exterior layer. All that suspended on a dynamic pose above this cliff face, and this unfortunate knight is about to be burnt to a crisp on the tip of this rock here. Yeah, a great dragon, Ben. It kind of reminds me of the dragons you see on Game of Thrones with that kind of pose. Great stuff as always. I hope Ben gets around to sending me a few more of his creations because there's some great castles and sci-fi builds that are worth checking out. And Ben is also one of the main people who operates on the Brickworld YouTube channel. They often do a lot of streams, videos, and coverage of their convention every year, so it's worth checking out. Link in the description, and I'd be happy to stop by and talk about more Castle, Ben, so just shoot me an email. With this next mock, let's take a tiny break from Castle one more time to talk about some great Star Wars stuff. Let's read the email here. Hi Mark, I know you enjoyed the show Andor, so I wanted to share with you my latest mock. A recreation of Luthen Rael's gallery. It depicts the scene where Mon Mothma visits Luthen to discuss rebel business under the pretenses of buying a gift for her husband. I filled the gallery with treasures from LEGO Star Wars history and some Indiana Jones Easter eggs like in the show. Thank you in advance for featuring it, and may the Force be with you. Okai Yaramanalu. My Flickr, a link to the Flickr there, and more details on Eurobricks. Regular viewers of the channel will recognize Okai. It looks like okay, but it's pronounced Okai, and I've been corrected, and I appreciate the input and help there. Let's talk about this mock though. I was a big fan of the Andor TV show, very much enjoyed both seasons of it. That was really good, very kind of gripping, intense, dramatic Star Wars, a very refreshing change of pace. And this scene has been so well achieved here, Okai. You've got the figures look just like they do in the show. You've got all the little artifacts sprinkled throughout the room. There are some fantastic details to see. I'm just gonna point out a couple of them. You have the Darth Revan armor over on the wall there. That caught my eye right away. You've got the buildable little trinket there from the Star Wars console games. You got the classic blaster up in the top there, the chrome crystal, golden frog, Indiana Jones idol, Lego coins on a sprue. There's so many fun details here. Okai has also done a good job capturing those angled walls, and that revolving door at the front couldn't have been easy to build, so it's cool to see that. And there's more detail and more information to be found on the Eurobricks forum post, so do check it out. And Okai, now that I see your profile picture on Eurobricks, I've seen you posting around before. I used to be on Eurobricks way back in the day, so I know who you are now. I did not make that connection before, but so glad you enjoy my content on YouTube. Okai has been around the block for a while, so great to finally make that connection. Moving right along, we're sticking with dramatic sci-fi for our final build we'll talk about today. This time it's from Darkside Brickcircers. Let's read the email though. Hey man, it's Aaron from Darkside Brickcircers. Back at it again with another mock submission. This time around, I made a small vignette displaying one of my favorite scenes from Dune Part 2, the Harkonnen Arena. It's pretty simple build, but I got the scene across pretty well. Hope you enjoy it, and thanks again. Well, thanks for sending another mock my way, Darkside Brickcircers. Do check them out on Instagram and YouTube for their mocks. This one is really exciting because you don't see a lot of Lego Dune creations. I've built, of course, the big sandworm. I've seen a couple other people do sandworms or scenes from the various movies. This one is super well achieved and have a very striking, visually dynamic moment in the film. The evil Harkonnen world is basically all in black and white because of the way that their sun works, their white sun. It doesn't have any color. And Aaron has done a great job capturing the Harkonnen architecture in the back, but also the kind of terrifying figures in this gladiatorial arena here. You got those spooky looking characters behind with the kind of long ear looking headgear. You've got Fade Rautha up front with his customized weapon there, and I think that's one of the orc swords that's been cut short to make it look like a Harkonnen blade. A little brutal, but I think it's suitable for the situation. I'm guessing these photos were taken with a black and white filter applied to the camera. However, I think it's actually possible to build this with just black and white pieces and make it happen. I think for the minifigures though, it would make more sense to do it with that filter applied. But now I'm curious to know the full story behind it. So if you have any more information, Aaron, feel free to comment. Well, that is a very iconic build from a couple of movies that I think could really stand to have a few more Lego mocks made for them. Thanks for sending it in, Darkside Brickcircers. Appreciate you guys. Whew, well, I think that's about all that we have for today. A great collection of castle mocks, but some other great themes sprinkled in there too to give us a break every now and then. I so appreciate everyone who took the time out of their day to send me an email with pictures of the cool mocks. There are links in the description for all the Instagrams, YouTubes, and Flickrs I could find. Do check them out if you have a second. All these builders have more mocks to show. And with that, have a great rest of your day. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye, everyone.